this morning. We start with Poltak, Pandjaitan. I'm not sure if I pronounced this correctly. Michael Doyle will moderate through the first panel. He is a guest lecturer and a researcher at the department here in Vienna. We will have a program until lunch, and then until 6 o'clock. We will have the same procedure like yesterday with lunch, so please join us. You're welcome at Hoyer after the third session this morning, I think.
Thank you very much. Welcome everybody this morning. So I'm very excited to be opening the method session this morning, METHODICS session this morning. As Vera was saying, I'm a guest lecturer here. I give actually courses to doctoral students on research methods. So methods are something that I'm quite close to, and then I also teach with one of my colleagues, Ricardo Villa, an architecture studio where we also think about methods. So it's something, methods is something that I sort of feel like I know, but I don't quite know yet, because as I discuss with others or read on method, I realize it's something that is not necessarily something always appreciated in the same way by different people and for the same reasons. So methodics comes from the Greek methodos and ecos is for that which pertains to. So what I would like to do this morning, if you will humor me, is to begin this session as that which pertains to method, to methodos, with a letter I wrote to method. Method, you seem to be everywhere these days. Many seem to be seeking you. Books on your name in their 5th and 6th editions, websites with text and videos offering up secrets, instructions. We ask how, and you tell us. If we are looking for a path, you have several to offer. It's often surprising how quickly you can help us achieve particular ends with limited means, the least effort for the greatest effect. I myself have benefited from your guidance, learning your different paths, traveling some of them myself, and trying to show them to others. Just being associated with you makes us feel powerful, like we can channel energies the way you do, clear the paths quickly, get to the end faster. Bifurcate quickly from softness to hardness, indexing, mobilizing, translating the hardness back into softness. Yes, what flattery, you're probably thinking. Am I not repeating the obvious? Who would dare say otherwise? And yet, you have some detractors. Some who would not so easily light a candle in your name or in your honor. A voice I myself trust has expressed dwindling hope, questions your brilliance, claims that your paths are monotonous. The newness has fled you from the beginning. That you might be good for finding a needle in a haystack if one truly cares about that lost needle, but that you couldn't find the single straw that shines bright in the hay of the stable. I think there's a point there, because it's true that we praise you for the paths we all collectively and have gotten a bit comfortable with. We've paved each of them, set up codes of conduct, and even made some of us responsible for making sure those rules are obeyed. But I'm writing to you because I would like to praise you, not for the method you've become, but for the method I'm learning you once were, and deep down I believe still are. I would have liked to have been able to begin by saying that you have brought honor on a noble lineage or renown to an unknown mountain village, but I know actually very little of your beginnings. So I will have to settle for what I can find in your name and work from there. Forgive me if it comes across as a bit speculative and naive. Your name comes from the Greek methodos, which contains both meta and hodos. Meta, which we can understand as pursuit or quest, carries the root for that which is in the middle, or between, or across. Are you born of a pursuit for links, the building of bridges? Hodos contains an idea of a path, or a journey, or a way, ein Weg, un chemin. Do you know or mark that way? Do you build bridges between otherwise divergent paths? Your name suggests that you share something with another hodos, an ex-hodos, or an exodus. Were you brothers? I'd like to imagine you and Exodus as children playing together in the forest, along the path, out from the path. He took great pleasure in running off, and you would chase after him, marking the way, fearful that you would never make it back. And even though you judged him for his folly, you were relieved, surprised, enchanted to see a different part of the forest where paths appeared to you that had not yet been charted. What I marvel at is not that you might have been able to catch up with Exodus, or even that you traced his random meanderings, his wanderings, his running, ranting random randonnée, but that you encouraged us to embark on them, not in order to reach a particular end, at least not one that was in sight, not immediately. As soon as we got to whatever end we reached at that moment, you had us go back again. It was about the act of traveling, of being on the path, but also between endpoints. And so we learned to repeat and to learn the paths by heart. We internalized them. Were you raised by technics, I wonder? And yet there's more. In a way, the paths were cyclical, and we would arrive back at the beginning only to realize the path didn't look quite the same as it did the first time. Because you learned something from your games with Exodus. This iterative traveling, comings and goings, would lead to something unexpected, something new. And as we looked back at you, we'd see a glimmer in your eye, a glimmer we'd seen before, and even, if we're lucky, experienced ourselves. Method, are you also a child of invention? Working with us like this, you challenged us, allowed us to embark on paths and discover new ones. You allowed us to put our own ambitions on the horizon, and the point was never to reach it, never to know truly what was at the end. It was the path that mattered. You helped us to free ourselves from tradition and customs and authorities that would have told us that the path to infinity, the path to the divine, or our ideal selves was already a certain, unique, paved one. And a word on those paths, Method. Who would truly err in mistaking you for methodology? She's a bit of a wicked stepsister, I think, always bossing you around. Those who claim to be against you are actually against her, I'd like to think. That same trusted voice once said that those with logi in their names from logos have music as their antecedent. That music is yours, Method. Methodology, she just wrote it down, coded it, played it over and over. Perhaps what you offer us were never paths at all, but chords, resonances, that you and Exodus found together. Methodology offers pre-made partitions and the staccato of the metronome, a tack-tack that keeps us on track. But she's always running behind you, trying to catch up, and she doesn't really know why. I think she's never met Exodus. There's much more I could say, Method, but this will have to suffice for now. Composing these words to you caught me again in a cycle, a spiral of writing and rewriting, formulating and reformulating. By your fault or your wisdom, I found myself again on a path, and then suddenly somewhere else. Thank you. I can only imagine our paths will cross again soon. A wandering admirer. So this morning, I believe Method will be here both in spirit, maybe also in flesh, as we hear about crystalline structures, providing a way to invent paths or perhaps communicational bridges between the topological and the geometrical domains, and to care for the commons, even as methodic reasoning allows us to emancipate ourselves from absolute common ground or common sense, and to question the why behind the quest to find a way to upload ourselves and save ourselves, literally and spiritually. So with that, I would like to invite our first speaker, Poltak Pandjaitan. Poltak finished his PhD in September 2019 at the chair of computer-aided architectural design under the direction of Professor Ludger at the ETH ITA in Zurich. In 2016, he worked as a project architect for Christian Chiares for the incidental space installation in the Swiss pavilion at the 15th Biennale di Architettura Venezia, 2016. He worked as an architect at Grammatio Köhler Architects in 2014 and received the Tischer Scholarship from the Federal Chancellery of the Republic of Austria for Arts and Culture in the same year. From 2012 to 2013, he worked as a project architect in Vienna. He studied architecture at the University of Technology Vienna, here maybe even in this room, where he graduated his architectural studies with honors and the diploma thesis Das Verborgene System in 2011. Thank you. Please welcome Poltak Pandjaitan.